him walking around, I think goes to show just the type of mindset that guy has. I've never had an Achilles tear. Hopefully I never do. I don't want to ruin my golf game. But he's, from my understanding, him walking around is crazy. His superpower is his presence. And him being in this building, being around his teammates, being in the locker room, his positive attitude, his thoughts of manifestation and all that stuff, I think it's powerful. And so obviously as a coach, of course, selfishly, I want him here every single day. I want him in every meeting. I want him on the practice field. I want him on the sideline. I want him in the locker room, selfishly, because he's an unbelievable human.
Speaking of unbelievable humans, how about that?
Oh,
how about
man.
that? How about that intro?
That was
Listen,
so good.
look, this is all happening today. Hadn't met Connor, hadn't met Lawrence in person. Here's Lawrence. Connor, man, like when was the first time you were on BFA?
Years ago.
Was it, years. Way back, early days. I don't know if it was the first season, the first episode, but it was like the second season of BFA.
Long time coming.
So good to see you, man.
Great to be here.
I'm glad we get a chance to talk to you about the Jets. I know you got a lot of opinions and insights on this organization. And Robert Saleh talking about Aaron Rodgers. I was saying to someone earlier, I think it was Matt Casey. I was saying to Matt Casey, Jets fan, earlier. For a team that's 3-3, they talk a lot of ish.
Yeah,
like they got a lot of
riled up.
swag.
I mean, they just beat the NFC champs.
But they're 3-3.
Yeah.
They're 3-3, and you could say that they're probably the third best team in the AFC East. Yet they've kind of taken some of Aaron Rodgers' confidence, some of his superpowers, as Robert Saleh said, and they just kind of, hey, like, we're still here. Y'all thought we'd be done.
He's staying around the building.
Y'all thought we'd be 1-5.
Yeah.
Thought we'd be 2-4, but here we are at 3-3. What do you see from the Jets, Connor, that's really jumping out at you?
Right, not all 3-3 records are the same, and this one feels different because they got the gut punch in the beginning of the year. I mean, losing Aaron Rodgers 4 plays into the season. This is a defense they've been building for years, and they are living up to the hype because they've been great against Josh Allen. They were great against Patrick Mahomes, and they were great against not just Jalen Hurts, but that entire Eagles offense. They were playing some practice squad corners out there too. When you look at it, they weren't their typical Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, all these stars. They had to really find themselves. And while the offense has struggled, they have talent on offense. Breece Hall's a guy you can lean on. Garrett Wilson's a guy you can lean on. Zach Wilson has gone from the guy losing them games to the guy not winning them games, but not making the back-breaking turnover. And I think why I say all 3-3s are different is if you look at them and go, okay, they beat the Eagles. They could have beat the Chiefs. It came down to the end. They beat the Bills. Well, you should hang around and at least make it interesting against everybody. And now you have this weird variable of can Aaron Rodgers really come back if they sneak into the playoffs?
Wild.
Which is
wild.
Which is
I mean,
wild.
what?
Wild.
You see him, you see him throwing on the field. Like, you wouldn't think he was a dude who just tore his Achilles a couple of weeks ago. But let me ask you this, Connor. Let's say, at this point, we could expect them to. Let's say the Jets stay afloat in the playoff race. You get towards the end of the season, they're fighting for a playoff spot. Let's say they get in and Aaron Rodgers does play. Now, you done got to this point with Zach Wilson.
That's fair.
Be that as it may. If you got there with Zach Wilson, that means he was all right.
Right. Had to be good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Good
enough.
Do you think they rock the boat and just insert Aaron Rodgers, who would be making a historical recovery from an Achilles?
Yeah.
Like, what position? Like, that's actually a tough, because you know what Aaron Rodgers gonna bring.
Right.
But you got here to this point with your former number 2 overall pick.
It's a great question, a great way to put it, Lawrence, because you have so many variables. Aaron Rodgers needs to be honest with himself of what percent of Aaron Rodgers is he? Is he 70% of himself? Is he 80? I mean, coming off the Achilles, he could be 40% of himself. It's unheard of. But also, I think Zach Wilson has the awareness to understand he is not the team's starting quarterback now. He came into the year as the defined backup. It's Aaron Rodgers' team. I think there is a higher ceiling, of course, no matter what percentage of Aaron Rodgers there is. The offense is still running with training wheels a little bit. I mean, they're still trying to be very heavily involving Breece Hall in the run game. They aren't taking a ton of chances with Zach Wilson because they are afraid he could throw away the game. So I think they'd have to have an honest conversation and see where Aaron Rodgers truly is. But if he can play, they wouldn't hesitate. He'd be back in there for them to start the playoffs.
Now listen, I'm just going to use an example. I'm using an example. This is just for recreational purposes only. I love everybody here at NBC. I just got in the building today. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to cause any trouble.
Hell of an entrance, Holly.
I just got here. I don't even know if I have an ID. Whatever. I'm just trying to sneak in the building. But let's just say for just playing around. Let's just say Mike Tirico took a 6 week sabbatical. 6 weeks, and said, Connor, I want you to fill in on Sunday Night Football.
That'd be quite the
For 6
bump
weeks.
for me. From fantasy football happy hour to Sunday Night Football play-by-play. Count me in.
My boy National.
I'm not giving that job back, by the way, if that's where you're going.
We're going to give you a little bump, just a little bump. Not Tirico money. We'll give you a little bump. And then, first week you're like, hey, listen, I'm just filling in for Mike. You introduce yourself to everybody.
Happy to
Second
be
week,
here.
I'm just filling in for Mike. But hey, the ratings are even going up. It's the number one show. It's been the number one show for 20 years. But now the distance has increased. And now week 4, week 5, hey, Mike's coming back. Hey, what? What do you mean? What do you mean Mike's coming back? It's my job. Right? It's my job. I mean, it's just natural, right?
Yeah.
So forget about making it. I like your example of if the Jets make the playoffs, even if they don't make the playoffs, if Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick in the draft,
True.
that's what they thought he was going to be the franchise quarterback. Let's say he turns into a reliable player, and he's good. Whether they make the playoffs or not, next year is a problem. He's like, he's supposed to just go back and be like, well, Aaron Rodgers at 40. So the 40-year-old guy coming off the Achilles, I actually played like the guy you expected me to play like. Like you went to get Aaron Rodgers because I sucked. But now,
Right.
I don't suck anymore.
I mean, if he plays a certain way, like higher than the level
they
that
gotta
he's
drop
been
him
doing.
regardless.
Exactly. There's got to be
I would
growth
think,
from
right?
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, right? And he's a young guy that he doesn't want to see what happened, right? Like Jordan Love. Jordan Love sat forever till he had to play. He might not want to sit and wait forever, but
No player does.
No player
No matter
does.
what you say, you could be cool with it, but no
Deep down.
player,
deep down. So that's an interesting scenario, and it's tough. And the thing is, I will say, to kind of piggyback off your point, he still has to grow. They've had a tough schedule. He looked really bad against New England. He was hot and cold against Denver. He didn't have to do a ton against Philadelphia. Now the schedule turns to the New York Giants. You're going to see teams like the Chargers defense, the Raiders defense out of the bye week. You kind of got to be the tractor, not the trailer in that scenario. You got to be driving the offense. You can't be along for the ride against
versus
them.
those 3 teams. You want to see a step up in that situation, because then after that you got Buffalo and then Miami.
It gets real again.
And look at some of those. You got some primetime games there too. Like, how do you play? I mean, I think that fed into it as well for Zach Wilson when everybody's looking. And he's struggling earlier. And like, well, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
What is it? And now, you're coming off a high, just like a big-time win against Philadelphia, coming off a bye. Everybody's feeling good. What do you do when the attention is back on you and your team because the expectations go up? Now, you mentioned New England. That's a game. They lost to the Patriots. Patriots' only win of the season was against the Jets.
Which
Zach
is
Wilson,
crazy looking
I know.
at now.
And Zach Wilson had a
happened.
pass at the end that, Randall Cobb, got his fingertips on the ball. That could have been a miraculous catch. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.